One of the things that I think is interesting is, as someone in the political realm, I'm quite a bit younger than most of the people that hold this position. I'm one of the youngest members of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. And I think as such, a lot of times it's hard to get a perspective on certain areas where you simply don't have the life experience of having lived through some things. And I think one of the areas where I think that that's really been a challenge for me, or something I've really wanted to focus on, is the plight of veterans and what that means and what our veterans have gone through and continue to go through and the issues affecting them. And over the past couple of years, as I ran for office and then got into office, and I would knock on doors and go to VFWs and American Legions and talk to people, and I would sit and I talked to a survivor from Pearl Harbor. I was walking around knocking on doors, just being a politician, and I stopped and I talked to him, and his story was so fascinating. We got to talking, and the next thing I knew, we were sitting there. He had pulled out photo albums and was telling the stories, and his wife came in and gave her version of what had happened, and I realized I'd been there for 3 hours. My campaign manager was not happy, but it was an invaluable insight into what those moments must have been like, and what the people who've given that sacrifice must have endured. So I tend to look at things maybe from a slightly different point of view, in that I turn 30 years old next month. My generation didn't go through World War II. We didn't go through Vietnam, Korea, any of these conflicts. But I've come to grow maybe a greater appreciation based on some personal experiences. As I stand here right now, my very best, dearest friend in the world from the time we were 5 years old he's a member of Navy intelligence, and he's serving overseas right now. He's on a tour. And it's funny because he'll call me every now and again, and being that a lot of the things he does, he can't give me a lot of details. He'll call and say, "What are you doing?" And I can tell him basically everything I did in a given day, and I'll say, "What are you doing?" He says, "I can't tell you much more than I'm in the sandbox." And that's pretty much the beginning and the end of the conversation. And it really kind of strikes me, because I look at the things that we do in our daily lives, and I can't even begin to compare what they must be doing. And it's really kind of struck home in that one of the things is, as you start to grow older, you don't expect to open up the newspaper and see a picture of a kid you went to high school with killed in action in Iraq. One day I was at the gym on the treadmill, and I was watching. There was a CNN special about a group of combat soldiers that were in a convoy, and the convoy was attacked going through Iraq, and it was a first-hand accounting of what they have gone through. And I'm watching it, and I was keeping some interest in it. It was interesting, and next thing I know, I see the tagline at the bottom, and it had the name of the one soldier who had been one of the in charge of the convoy that had survived and been wounded, and he had sat 3 seats behind me in high school, and there it was up on CNN. So to look at those things and to see that, it just totally gives me, I think, a much greater sense of perspective, that I hope that other members of my generation have an opportunity to get that perspective and to get that understanding, because I think it's important to know what all the people that are here today that have served, that have families that have served, that are the families of those people that have been laid to rest here really have. Because for me, it's really interesting. I'll be at a meeting somewhere or doing some typical part of my day, and I'll have someone come up to me and say, they'll watch somebody yell at me or give me a hard time about a certain policy thing, and they'll say, "Boy, you have a really tough job." And I just kind of laugh and smile, because I think about it, as far as things go, this is the easy job. And the hard job, as far as I'm concerned, when I hear that, I think of my friend, and I think of him being over in the sandbox. And that's the perspective that I have, and I hope that that's something that my generation can carry forward. Thank you very much, and enjoy the day.